We've all heard the stories of pregnancies going around the world. With even just seeing them in movies, maybe our friends. But pregnancy stories can be full of miracles. They can be full of heartaches. And tonight we're going to go through John's story of how he and his family got through there and came out the other side with their little miracle. And we can find the hope in their story as he tells it. Before we get started, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share the show with your friends, especially those who, like me, are going to be, that are expecting. And this would be a great little tidbit for them. And hopefully, it's a bit daunting, but I'm sure their story will actually alleviate some of that, or it might add to it. We'll see what happens. So, John, tell us how it all started.
Just before we get started, I'd just like to say to the women that are expecting, maybe you don't want to hear negative sides of...
well, you're going to talk about the positives as well. Like it is a crazy ride.
Yeah, like what can go wrong. Some women don't want to hear that when they're...
yeah.
And things did go wrong, but it turned out all right in the end. So,
yeah.
But definitely all the guys stick around.
Yeah, guys, you need to get behind your woman. You need to
be strong.
You need to be strong. You need to look after her because, as they say, you can be their rock, and you want to be their rock that they can stand on, and you keep them up. You keep them afloat, not drag them down. That's probably rock doesn't work there. Oh, well.
So I guess the start is me finding my partner, and we were both from big families, so we were pretty intentional with the discussions we had coming into a relationship in our 30s, and we didn't want to, take things
slow.
Yeah. Time wasn't on our side. So we got married in March, pregnant in March.
Yeah, we actually they went on their honeymoon, and we all had bets on if they would be pregnant or not when they got back, and I lost. I actually thought it wasn't going to be as easy as they said, but my wife was we're very sure that they were going to be pregnant.
It's a numbers game, deja vu,
isn't it? The way it goes is that you're pregnant. They start timing it from your last period or something, and that was before the wedding. Technically speaking, you're pregnant before you're married. So easy. And we don't want to take that away from people who are struggling, because we do know people do struggle, and we don't want that to be the focus for tonight, though. But we can definitely talk about that another time.
Yeah. So we were intentional in trying, but we're a little bit surprised that it was that easy, and we were like, what do we do? In a bit of a not a panic in a bad way, but like it's new territory. You have to map out new territory. So it was lucky we had a lot of siblings that have had kids, and siblings that we're close with, so we could talk about that kind of stuff. And so straight up, we went to the doctors, got it all. You got the ball rolling.
Yeah.
There are good doctors out there. We didn't have a great experience with our first doctor. And we hadn't done any like independent research into, what tests to do. So he just gave us a bunch of referrals to get tests done. And
well, like what kind of tests? As in, like,
there's blood tests,
just like the normal, the normal things people would go through when they're pregnant.
Yeah, but you don't need to, like, you can refuse them. But there was no discussion about refusing, which is, I guess, they could spend hours talking about everything that goes on. But the point of the story is do your research before you go to the doctors, because there's tests that are there that can cause complications in how they treat you in labor.
Yeah.
And GBS is one of those things. It's a natural bacteria, from what the research we've done, natural bacteria that shows up in about a third of women.
Yeah.
And stays dormant and isn't like, they're not asymptomatic with any ailment.
Yep.
And
so if you got tested for that and got
positive,
positive.
you can't do home births. You can't do like they're going to treat you with antibiotics or
And
offer to.
is that what happened to you guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually having the antibiotics, they gave her antibiotics straight away, even though she wasn't symptomatic.
Yeah, right.
And there was other consequences to that, so which I won't go into, but it was not pleasant.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, because when you have antibiotics, you're killing the good bacteria as well.
bad
So
bacteria, so adverse effects.
yeah, I wouldn't think that's a wise thing to do. But
anyway, so we started our research shortly thereafter because we were like, oh, like this is just a generic. Like the doctors don't go, this is your wife, this is what she needs. It's like you're pregnant, and this is what the system says you have to have.
Yeah.
And I just want to. Spoiler alert, at the end, the system worked out in the end, like helped us out tremendously.
Yeah, you came out of it with a baby.
Yeah. And but I think knowledge is power in birth or in pregnancy and in labor and the birthing process. And we went into it a bit naive and ignorant, but slowly worked through that. And anyway, we got to.
So can I ask when you ended up getting onto the the antibiotics, was that like something that you're like, oh, well, I guess it's something you had to do? Is it something that actually brought worry onto you or anything?
No
like
worry,
that?
But to be honest, the doctor couldn't speak very good English. Like it wasn't broken English, but you'd say words that you could work out what he's trying to say, but
was it a lot like a medical jargon kind of thing that
not medical jargon?
Yeah,
no, it was just like he was foreign, and
yeah,
he wasn't using the optimal words for sentences.
Yeah, okay.
That you could piece it together well enough.
Yeah,
but like GPs aren't like obstetricians or gynecologists or
they're not the specialists in the field.
Yeah, they have a general knowledge, and the system, they had to go through the system to keep their license, right? So they had to offer what needs to be offered. And the same thing happened to us when we went for our 20-week scan. They offered an internal scan, and we said we didn't want to know the gender. So a piece of paper was given to my wife.
Yep.
And he's like, oh, just read over this. And we're like, oh, maybe he's like checking stuff that we're not meant to see. But I'm like, why didn't you tell me not to look, sort of thing? And I was like, if I know, I'm okay, no issues.
As in like the gender.
Yeah. So I was like,
the baby.
Yeah. But no, it was like.
So did that mean the wife got the letter? Did they have it on it?
What's that? No. So there was a piece of paper with a disclaimer saying, like, sign here if you want to have this other scan, which is an internal scan.
Oh, yep.
Which is an invasive scan. And we asked a few basic questions like, oh, what's this about? And he's like, oh, it's recently like a new standard to offer this in the scan. And we're like, what does it do? They go, oh, usually in the past, it was if there was something wrong with the first part of the scan and we wanted to explore further and work out what the issues are, or if there is any issues, that scan will eliminate that. And we're like, well, is there anything wrong with the first scan? And he's like, no.
Okay.
We're like, well, we're comfortable declining.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing for everyone to know, is that you do have the power of choice, and that if there is something you're uncomfortable with, make sure you speak up.
You need to know what you're declining or
do your research as John suggested. I know especially my wife is doing a lot of the research on our behalf, as it's been a wild ride at work right now, but yeah.
But with that scan, we found out that the kidney was dilated on our little baby. I won't reveal the gender till the end.
Yep, leave it as a surprise. If you want to work it out, you need to stay for the whole podcast.
But
or you just skip to the end.
It was dilated within. At the time, it was 5 mil was the maximum, and it was right on the maximum for normal. So it's normal, but they're like, oh, there might be an issue.
Right on the edge kind of thing.
Yeah, which I don't get the point of having having that
range if they're not actually going to stick
if you're not
to it.
comfortable with that range. Like,
I guess it comes to the doctor's discretion, right?
well, the report is given to the doctor. It's a very weird system. You have to rebook a appointment with your doctor
Yep.
for them to read the sonographer's report, which is just like, we are worried about this, rah, 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 and give the doctor like a page to read out to you.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not good at reading, but I'm not illiterate. I could do that myself.
You sure?
Yeah. But after the scans, everything's normal at this point, except potentially, which is just another
kidney.
scan at 35 weeks.
So the thing about the kidneys, it wouldn't be like a blood test or like an actual test. It's just a scan that tells you.
There could be issues later down the track with bladder and urinating and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay.
If
that's crazy what they can figure out on a scan, hey?
Well, they can't.
Well, I guess they can.
The percentage, I think, don't quote me on this right now, but 60% accurate within a range of 10%.
Yeah, right.
So it's like it's wildly inaccurate.
It's not 60% of the time, 100%.
Which we'll get into. Yeah, it's pretty well that.
Yeah.
The numbers don't really add up.
Yep.
So then we started doing a few online birth courses, and listen to podcasts, YouTube, some stuff that we had worked out from the scans and what the doctors had said at that point.
So you went on like a deep dive for information there.
Information, and because the first experience was like we were really ignorant and we just wanted to soak in as much as we could. So when things popped up, decisions were easily made.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would recommend that to anyone. It's a lot easier. You can deal with the unknown if you know most of the procedure. When you're making all the tiny decisions and trying to work that out on the spot, it makes them hard decisions even harder.
Yeah, I bet.
And by the end of this story, it really had paid off.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And I'm talking about like pretty well 8 months of the 9 months we were sending each other stuff
to watch
and listen to and read and yeah. So after that, we got to about 35 weeks and we had to scan to check out the kidneys, and that's when we found out our baby was breech. 35 weeks in, so pretty close.
So you weren't even looking for it. It was just I guess an accidental find that the baby was breech.
Our baby's neck was really strong, so when they were testing, they tested the hips and the head depending on which way the position is, and because the neck was so strong, it felt identical to it being.
Yeah, why don't you show everyone your neck? This is where she gets it from.
Yeah. Oh, you gave away the gender already.
Oh no! Oh, I'm so sorry.
No gender reveal now.
Oh no, not anymore.
Maybe with the next one.
Maybe I can bleep that out. No, do
that. But we went to.
So when would they normally find out that a baby is breech? Like, it's just something they stumble upon.
No, they'll feel around. They feel around every
time.
Yeah, and
but they couldn't figure it out because your baby's neck was super strong.
Yeah, it acted like the hips did.
Yeah. So if you move the butt, the head's supposed to move.
The rest of the body's meant to move because the neck was so strong. The head's only meant to go like that. But it was moving the whole body. Yeah.
Doing a little
something similar. That's what they said. Even up to the point that we were at labour.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we need to double check that because that feels like a.
It feels like a butt.
Yeah.
Not a head.
Yeah. And sure enough,
breech.
Yeah.
Breech.
So we'll go back to 35 weeks. We have an appointment at 36 weeks with the hospital we're with. I don't want to, we won't name names because I don't want to scare anyone. But pretty much they said, depends who the doctor is on the day, whether we can support a natural birth or not. Some doctors will just
hands off.
I can't touch that because I can't be liable for anything.
That's crazy how they can do that. There's no, I guess, duty of care. I mean, we get taught that in like first aid that if they're in your care, like you,
Oh,
I guess,
I'm glad that he was honest.
yeah. I prefer them to be honest than not.
Yeah.
But like, it's still you're in their duty of care, and if they're going hands off, no way, like
Oh, they offered it ECV.
ECV
Yeah, I can't think of what the acronym means, but pretty much they try to turn the baby inside the womb,
the womb.
which is 50% successful. 50% successful, but that's over the full pool. It's 40% effective on your first baby. It was our first baby. It's 60% successful on your subsequent babies.
Subsequent, yeah.
Yeah,
the rest of them.
There's a bit more room to maneuver.
Is there a statistic on if you've had one breach, you'll have more breach babies, or?
So the podcast we listened to, which I don't want to sound like a hippie, it was the Great Birth Rebellion, and they had the guy from the Randwick Women's
Hospital,
whatever it is,
something like that.
And he was in charge of the breach clinic. So it's a clinic just for breach.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, which we were thinking about doing, but because we're so far away, if she went into labour,
it'd be taking a while to get
there. Yeah, there's no way. Yeah, that would have been a wild drive.
It would have been a wild drive.
Yeah.
I don't think paying for an ambulance that far would be good either.
No. But yeah, there's been a de-skilling in both midwives and in doctors because the cesarean rate for breach is 98%.
98%. That's where our first 2% comes in, right?
No, second.
Second.
2% of all births.
In the title, we've talked about 2% of 2% comes to 0.04%.
Yeah, so 2% of all births end in breach or have breach presentation.
Yep.
And then 2% of those go on to be delivered naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what you guys did.
Yeah. And the problem is, it's not that. And again, do your own research because I'm just a guy that did.
Just a guy on the internet, just talking his story.
No, but yeah. So the reason it's not so easy to do is because they've de-skilled in this area, but it's the percentage of death or mortality for babies in natural birth is 1 in 1,000.
Yep. What about cesareans? Is there a death in cesarean?
There would be, but I don't have.
You don't have that on hand.
We weren't looking to
do cesarean.
Like it was last resort. So
why was? Can you explain to the audience why you and your wife decided, like pretty hard up against not going with cesareans?
Okay, so one, we weren't stopping at 1 or 2 or 3. We were planning to see how far we can go.
Gaggle of kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Baker's dozen, maybe. Yeah, and the thing with cesareans, they don't recommend going past 3.
Yeah.
That changes from doctor to doctor.
Person to person.
Doctor to doctor.
I've heard 2.
Yeah, 2 or 3. They go 3's like you're pushing it because the scars gets
weaker and
weaker. And one, from the research that we did, we are likely to have a breach presentation again. Like if you have a
okay, so it is more likely after you've had breach to be breach again, seemingly breach again.
Again, there's not a lot of there's not a heap of data on it, but from what we've heard, that's the case.
Yeah,
and it's not like 100% success rate there.
And that doesn't scare you about the next one?
No, we've done it. So
you've done it.
We can do it again.
There you go.
Yeah. So with that, if you go breach natural, it's only 2 out of 1,000. So it does double, but it's such a small number.
Yep.
It's like 0.2% instead of 0.1%.
Yeah.
Which we were comfortable with that. If you're not comfortable, that's fine.
Yeah.
But there was there's a whole page which some of this stuff happens in natural birth anyway, like bleeding is excessive bleeding.
Yeah.
But the likelihood of needing another cesarean would have been high. And
if you had a first one.
Yeah. Well, once you had it.
Once you've had cesarean, you need to have cesareans each time, don't you?
You don't need to. No? You can go back to, but if anything was wrong again in the second one, then a second cesarean. And the research we did said that there's a chance that after that your body can't actually deliver naturally, like the placenta can grow from underneath, and then you can't deliver naturally that way.
I'm guessing that's because of the scar tissue that's actually present within the womb now, or
I don't know. Maybe your body just doesn't know how to deliver because it hasn't delivered. It hasn't used that, and it's been pregnant
like a muscle
twice.
Memory.
Yeah, it's been pregnant twice and hasn't had to do it.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. But there was a few things where it would have meant that we would have to continue doing cesareans and would have to stop at 2, 3.
Yeah, it would become
and that wasn't
increasingly more dangerous to then have more kids after that. Yeah. And you guys want the gaggle.
And there was other risks involved in cesareans on my partner's side too, which would have been bad. 6 weeks off work as well would have been a challenge, as you would have known. Was 2 weeks off?
Was it 2 weeks?
It's 2 weeks then Christmas.
2 weeks then Christmas.
Oh, no, 1 week then Christmas.
Yeah, but when John was off supporting his family, it was very hard, and we worked really hard through that time, and we had to pick up the slack because he wasn't there, and it definitely made it work a lot more physically tough. But we got through it. We wish you were there, but we also, wish you the best with your family.
Yeah.
Wished you the best with your family.
So after the conversations with the doctors at the hospital we were going to, we asked for a transfer, and they were perplexed to why. After they said maybe we'll just
hands off.
Yeah, you just do you in the corner. Yeah, and we're like,
but it does happen though. We've heard stories of people hands off, and then the mother just pulls out the child.
This has happened since Eve. They haven't had hospitals back then, but if you're going to go to a hospital, you're going to leave your house, you need to have support.
Yes.
And they were essentially saying that support wasn't there.
And so you went and sought out a place that was going to support you. And you ended up with
John Hunter.
Which
has the highest
Newcastle
breech births in the state.
In the state or in all of Australia?
In the state, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, okay.
And you got the breech clinic in Randwick, and that does less.
Yeah. There
you go. But the conversations, our research was streamlined after that because we knew it was breech.
Yeah.
Which sort of was a blessing in disguise because you're not factoring in all these different avenues. It's like quite clearly one type of labour or very few variations of breech. And we knew from the scans and that she was in the Frank something or other position, which is the best Frank position.
The Frank position.
So it's
probably named after someone called Frank.
Bum down, legs up to shoulders, and
flexible,
arms wrapped around
the legs.
So it's the bum's a similar process to the head, and will stretch the parts.
Yeah.
Better.
Stretch the parts.
Better than legs first.
Yep.
So, the conversations with the doctors and midwives changed once we transferred.
Yeah.
They were a bit more supportive, but still on the back burner was always trying to push the C-section.
Yeah. Is that just because it's just safer to do overall, or do you feel like there was other motives there?
I think it's controlled. They can more or less
they can control the whole pregnancy. when you bring out the baby, they can schedule it,
Yeah.
everything like that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
how many people they need on, everything like that.
Everything is a bit more controlled on their end, and I guess the resources they can allocate and know what's happening. Where with a breach like with us, we had about, I'm going to say 7 other doctors and midwives in the room.
Yep. Did the was this the C sections kind of pushed by just the doctors, or were the midwives kind of pushing it too?
Midwives never.
Midwives never.
They go.
So there's a big
this-
distinction between the two.
Yeah, yeah. The way I like to put it is the doctors go, "I'm not comfortable with it," and the midwives are like, "What are you comfortable with?"
Yeah, okay. That's a big change. Sounds like midwives are going to be the best friend.
Yeah, yeah. But you do need both. So especially
Your specialists.
yeah. By the end, we needed to have them in the room, and we were very happy by the end.
Yeah.
But
So
I mean, every appointment they're like, so have you thought more about the C-section, rah. And each time, like, so we did a little bit of research. I watched a C-section video, and I'm not very good with, scalpels and needles and stuff.
he is not very good with blood or anything like that.
Oh, no, labor.
He got a splinter in his finger once, and I had to pull it out, and he was as pale as a ghost, and
I don't like it.
he's not doing well with that.
I don't like it.
Hey, look, as for someone, so I perceive as a really strong, very masculine man. It was just very comical to see this very kind of weak side, I guess you could put it. No, maybe not weak, but maybe
It's kryptonite, I think.
kryptonite.
I think that's the best way to put it.
But yeah, so yeah, you watched the video and
did a little bit of research, but we weren't going down that avenue. And if we were, like when it got to a dire situation and we went there, it's just like they're in charge anyway. I can't help a push or anything like that. Like I'm not helping to breathe
you're
or
not
anything.
in the room, sure.
I am. But
You are still in the room?
there's a screen, like you elect for a screen. I think that's standard practice, but you can elect to not have the screen. I don't know what weirdos out
You
there.
would have passed out then.
Yeah, I'd be staring at her the whole time. I wouldn't care.
Show us the stairs.
Mate, that is disgusting. Well, I think I'm the normal. Like, you don't want someone cutting you open. That's weird. And you wouldn't want to watch someone else get cut open. I think I'm the normal one.
I guess you are right. You are. So what? I guess I'm not normal then, because like I find that whole thing fascinating. The whole human body is absolutely an amazing piece of.
Oh, I think it's amazing. I just don't need to be staring at someone cut open.
Because I remember doing like when I was studying massage therapy, we went and did a cadaveral. Do you think you could do that?
Explain what you're talking about.
A cadaveral is when you actually go to a university or like a
morgue.
Like a morgue, and they'll actually show you like dead bodies, and you see actually.
I'm not a necrophiliac, so that do nothing for me.
It's not about that. No, it's really fascinating. The human body is an amazing creation, and finding out how it works and how it doesn't work was also a big thing. Like seeing what cancer actually looks like on the inside is actually really crazy, and how it's different between each different body part as well. So it was a really really enlightening I guess experience. Yeah.
You can keep it.
We did have people in our class who did not want to do it, and I guess you would probably be one of those.
Wouldn't be in the class. But every single week, so it gets down to, I think it was once a week is the norm, but we're going maybe twice a week.
Yeah, there's a few times I had to drop you off after work, or you had to leave early from work.
Yeah, a few times because it was breach. They really wanted to check heart rates, all this stuff.
Yeah,
make sure everything's
everything's going
well
smoothly.
And
As smooth
every
as it could
time
be.
they're like, one, we want to book you in because it was around Christmas, which I actually can empathize with them a bit. But we were like, we don't want a C-section, so booking it in is like, that makes it more of a reality,
Yeah.
and that's not what we wanted. And they call it now I think a labor.
They don't call it a C-section.
No. There used to be like a labor plan. Now it's a labor preference or labor map.
Yep.
So you can go this way to get to there, or like there's all different directions you can go to get to the end. So you don't have these.
In my head, I'm imagining like what they give to children at like the
Yeah.
the restaurant with their little coloring pencils. You got the little.
So you got
The
your
little map.
preferences, but that's not what's going to happen
I
essentially.
can just see you just drawing it on the table.
Which is fine. Like you need to be adaptive to whatever comes.
Yeah.
But we definitely were trying to avoid C-section at all points. The other thing you asked before about why we didn't want to do that is it's sort of like your passage into the world is you're strong enough to get through labor as a baby, right?
As a baby.
Yeah, and you've got to get to the teat and get stronger, that kind of thing. So it's all a rite of passage for the baby, and we're not animals, but we see it as like they're stronger for doing that, right? They're able to, not to take away from people that are
who are going through,
but that's
going the other way.
our frame of mind. And then so by the end, we had booked in a C-section date on the 23rd of December, the Monday before Christmas.
Right before Christmas.
Which my partner's sister had a C-section that day. So that was the thinking, like if we're going to do it
together,
at least have it so the babies are
on the same born on the same day. That's cute.
Be cousins, both girls.
Both girls.
Which you gave away earlier on.
Whoops.
Yeah. But anyway, moving on. So we selected.
So when were you due?
We're due on the. It was definitely over 6th.
Yeah, but like when you booked in the 23rd,
6th. We're born.
Was that after?
We're due on the 11th.
You kind of scheduled that after you were overdue, or
after we were overdue.
After you're overdue. Yeah.
But it's sort of like we're giving up. If that's what it felt like, we're giving up. Like this natural thing's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But they kept on, every time we went in, they would give us more and more details to what can go wrong with a C-section. So by the end, it was what's it where they removed the
when they removed like the ovaries or
the
uterus.
Yeah, uterus. I think
uterus.
Anyway, they
uterusectomy.
No.
Lady Park
come back to me later, I'm sure. But anyway, they go, that's a potential if we can't stop the bleeding with the surgery. That's
like one of the worst things you could have.
Yeah, and we're like, well, we want to have kids.
Don't take away our chances.
Yeah. And also they said, we said earlier on that the scans, well, I said it was inaccurate, 6% accurate within 10%, within 10% range.
So we've jumped ahead to you being, you've gone past your due date. You're now up to, so you're overdue. We're scheduling in a
C-section.
Potentially,
yeah.
Before you got to there, was there? Oh man, I'm blanking now. No, keep going with your story. I'm blanking completely there. If it comes to me, I'll tell you.
So what they were saying about our baby was that the size. So with breech babies, they don't want them to be over 4 kilos because.
Oh yeah, no, I had the question. So you were talking about at the first clinic and stuff. They were talking about you can move the baby, and that happened before due date.
Yeah, they recommend 36 weeks, but I think we did on the 37th.
Yeah. So they've tried to actually physically
sorry,
move.
I completely skipped past that. Yeah,
Yeah.
they tried to, was not successful.
Not successful.
They
And
offered that a week before she ended up coming, and I go, if it doesn't work, because my partner was sore for a week after.
yeah, because what I've heard is it's tremendous strain on the body.
Yeah, and it looks like it when they do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I hope I don't actually have to go through that. But, well, I won't go through it, but I hope I don't have to watch my wife go through it.
Yeah, no, it's and
So
you can see in the
when
face.
you're up to that point and kind of things just kept going that you know kept you kept into a point where it was like, all right, we're getting closer to C-section and stuff like this. Like, how are you, like, I guess, maintaining a healthy, positive, hopeful framework in your mind? Like, was there any time where you were like, just I wish this was easier, or like you would like,
like
man,
relent to the C-section sort of thing?
no, not like relent. Like, what was going through your mind? Like,
I stayed
as a
positive the whole way.
husband.
It was really difficult. Like my obviously with hormones and stuff, women have them.
Yep, they do. So do you. Men have hormones too, you know.
There was point like downs and ups with my partner. Really chipper one day, and then the next day like, oh, how are we going to do this? And
so how did you get through those down moments? Like,
I was positive the whole way through, pretty well up until like we were getting through labor.
and so your wife was kind of on this roller coaster,
and I was just like flat out. It's like in a I can't do that here. In a upwards trajectory.
Yeah. So you always maintained this kind of positive outlook, but how did you, I guess, steer your wife to the hopeful parts, to keep her kind of?
I think it's if you're panicking, like it's going to make them panic.
Yeah.
For one, so being positive's the opposite of that. So
yeah, if your wife's in the chat, just let us know how you felt going through that, and I guess your John here, your husband, how did that affect you with his
I think it was negative at some points, like because like she's like, this is so dire, and I'm like, it's all right.
It's not gonna be good. She'd be right. Your classic Australian.
Like again, it's really easy to say that, but I'm not the one going through labor.
That's it. Yeah.
But yeah, it was processing things as they came, and because we'd done the research that we could in the time that we had.
Yeah.
And we had sort of made decisions together and were on board with each other.
Yeah.
So it was really easy to make little variations because we sort of knew where we wanted to go.
Yeah.
And you could make little variations as we went through different difficulties.
Now, you've told me it's very important for you guys to have like a planned kind of stages of where you'd be comfortable going, okay, let's move to the next step or something, like if it got this bad, like, because obviously the women, they're going to be going through a whole bunch of pain, they're going to be going through a whole bunch of stuff. Like, what you've told me is that there's actually it's good to kind of talk through the plan.
Yeah. Our plan was no intervention, or minimal intervention, I should say. And to try to do it without pain relief. And again, you got to be adaptive. And that's not to say that you failed or anything. It's just processing new information as it comes.
Yeah.
But definitely being on board with each other and knowing what they want, you can actually facilitate as much as you can and then deal with what.
Was there ever a moment that I guess your plan had overridden what was going through that moment?
Or I think the doctors would say that, but I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, okay.
I'd say that
like this is a plan between you and your wife, and yeah.
And just to be clear, with some of the discussions we had about the breach, there's almost no intervention that they will offer, because if they onset the labor and something happens, that's they use the word catastrophic a lot, without actually explaining what that meant.
Yeah, right. Catastrophic is used a lot, and that sounds like a bad word.
Sounds like a bad word, but they don't want to be liable, which is, I guess, fair enough. But so there was like, we won't break your waters. We won't offer synthetic oxytocin, anything that will induce labor. We won't offer that. And that's going into labor.
So they
were sort of
wouldn't
relieved.
induce a breech labor.
No, no. They will do C-section, or you have to just
deal with it.
Yeah, get it out.
Get her out.
The last appointment we had, when they were trying to push the C-section,
and this is when you're overdue. Just keeping everyone in the timeline.
The question that was posed was so bizarre. They go, so how do you want this to end? We're like, what the heck does that mean? No, we want to keep it in there. I don't even know what that, like,
catastrophic.
We had no idea how to answer that, because we're just like taken back. We're like, don't know what that question really means.
Yeah.
And we go like, sorry, what does that mean? And like, well, it has to come out at some point. How do you want it to come out? We're like, naturally.
Yeah.
And like, oh, we need to book in a C-section at some point.
We want natural. You should book in the C-section.
Yeah, and I get it. The close to Christmas, people are going to have time off. They need to have the staff on hand.
Yeah.
We haven't even got to labor yet.
So guys, don't get pregnant in March. Is the moral of the story?
No, it's all good by the end.
All good by the end.
Yeah.
So how do you want this to end? Well, we want natural. So shall we book in the C-section?
Yeah.
Continue, please. Please continue.
So, I think it was Saturday. No, Sunday. It was a Sunday. No, okay, I'm going back. I'm going to stick with Saturday. She went into labor, early labor. And the research we had done, we knew that this wasn't, like, the baby wasn't coming soon at all. But we got told that John Hunter, it's breech, so we just want to do some checks. If you start getting contractions, come in, and call ahead, come in, and we'll just check the heartbeat, all that stuff. This was... we got told to call in straight away. We were rebels. She started at like 1 and we went in at 9.
1 p.m.
1 p.m.
9 p.m. Yeah. On a Saturday.
Yep. And then I come in. The rooms were available. Apparently the night before, the Friday, they had the most births in a day all year.
Yeah, right.
21 or 28. So something ridiculous, like a lot of babies.
A lot of babies.
Yeah, Christmas presents.
Little gifts.
So we went in knowing that it wasn't the main event. It was just a sideline. And they put the heart monitor on, and the research again we did. The place to have the early labor is not the hospital. Yep. You need to be comfortable. You need to be in dark, quiet room, somewhere where you, like, if you have a dog, you can pat it, that kind of thing, like just your normal everyday sanctuary.
So home where you feel comfortable,
not like a brand new environment with bright lights and white walls.
So you're a rebel though.
Yeah, well, because we wanted to
buck the trend.
It can slow down labor and stall it, and you need to get into established labor, which takes a bit of time. But we knew it was really early. Went in anyway because we didn't want to, go to sleep.
It was breach, and
we wanted to do
due diligence, make sure everything's going right.
So we went in.
It's your first time as well.
Yeah.
So.
We went in and they put the heart monitor on, and apparently we got high heart rates. So the baby had a high heart rate, or at least my partner has a high heart rate. So they check for, you know, the normal and then a spike,
Yep.
and then normal, then a spike. So the baby's like doing these micro sleeps and then waking up, kicking, going back to sleep, this kind of thing. And then monitoring that because the heart rate was so high, the peaks weren't really peaks. Like, 'cause
It was all about the same.
yeah, it wasn't not very much variation. But by the time they had worked out what was going on, it was like past midnight, and they're like, just stay the night.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Yeah, were you both able to stay the night? Or?
yeah. So it's a birthing suite. It's the next day after you give birth. The next day they sort of kick out the partners to the curb.
For you
Well,
sleeping on the curb in the car.
Yeah, but even then, the first day we knew it wasn't anything happening. But the doctors go, this is the what we have to offer, cesarean. I'm like, we haven't even started labor. Like, we haven't had established labor yet. It's not even.
It was just like this pre-labor type thing.
Yeah. So it's you're getting the contractions. I was timing it.
Labor and contraction. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up. Yeah.
I'm timing it. Is like started off at like 12 minutes, 10 minutes sort of thing, and then they were got down to 5 and 3 minutes apart, but only 20 seconds.
Yeah.
So you want a minute long, and them to be about 3 minutes before you're in active labor.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're 5 to 3. But we were not there, and it was only for like one of them that it was within that time frame, and most of them were like 7, 10, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I was keeping a pretty good note of it. And then the next day, they sent us home. The next day, same thing happens again, where it gets to about 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock.
It's now Sunday.
Sunday.
Yep.
But they're becoming longer. They
not getting shorter.
Yeah, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and they within the 7, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes. Like,
is a contraction painful, or is it just like a cramp?
It's like an intense cramp.
An intense cramp.
Really intense cramp.
Yep.
Really localized in here.
In there.
Yeah.
Women, you're amazing.
Yeah. Well, that's not even the hard part.
No, but still.
Anyway, we go to the hospital, and prior to this, we had sort of decided that we'll try to, for invasive purposes, we won't go for the vaginal exam to check dilation of the cervix.
Yeah.
From what we heard and read, it's an indicator, but not the indicator.
Yes.
Right. So you can still have a baby within like a minute of getting tested, and you're 6 minutes dilated. You can dilate quite fast, quite rapidly.
Yep.
Yeah. So the second time we went in, again, they've offered half a dozen times at this point. Do you want a C-section, emergency C-section? We're like,
no.
And one of the midwives comes to us and goes, because this is the conversations we're having with the doctors, is it hasn't progressed yet.
Let's go C-section.
This is not ideal.
Yeah.
C-section.
And the midwives
like, this isn't the place that you should be doing this early labor stuff. You should be going home and getting into established labor, coming back here once you're established, and then we go from there.
Yeah.
Don't worry about, C-sections. We know that that's not what you want.
Yeah.
And I think you need both. Again, you need both the doctors and the midwives for the care, and doctors for when it gets hectic. They come in and go, this is what's happening.
Yep.
And take control of
the situation.
But anyway, they go, go for a walk around from a partner. Go for a walk, relax a little bit. Come back. If you're comfortable, we'll do a vaginal examination and send you home.
Yep.
She goes for a walk around. Contractions completely stopped. Gets back into the suite, and at this point, so it's not very glamorous labor. vomiting, urinating, pooping,
Yeah.
not controlled. I love you, hun. So at this point, we've pretty much been told we're going home, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I'll get all the stuff. Half the stuff's got, bodily fluids on it.
To put it nicely.
Yeah. So I chucked it all in this bag that they gave us, including some of my clothes that were clean enough to wear. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna just wash everything, put it in the dryer, come back here when she's established.
Yeah.
She comes back from the walk. They do the examination. Oh, you're 6 centimeters dilated. You're not going anywhere.
No,
All my clothes.
now it's
all my
Hey,
clothes are completely
you're on.
trash. So I had whatever I was wearing at the time. That was it for the rest of the time. Anyway, so we started doing all the stuff we learnt from the courses. We're like, we need to start, getting you standing up, going through the contractions, breathing through them, getting them progressing. And we did that for, so they were telling us to go home at just before 3.
Yeah.
We did this until like 9 o'clock, and like they'd intensified closer together. We stopped doing the monitoring because one, it's distracting, and two, like they're looking for problems all the time, and it's like it doesn't help your pregnant wife. Like when they're looking at a monitor, going, "Oh, what's wrong?"
Yeah.
So that was completely off at that point.
Yeah.
It was just us going through the motions, and then I end up falling asleep around her. I'm going to back it up just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
To the first day.
So Saturday.
Sorry, this start of Sunday.
Start of Sunday.
When we got back home, I decided, like, we got home and the house was a little bit messy. I'm like, I'm going to clean everything before we go back to the hospital. So by the time I finished doing all the cleaning, we're going back to hospital. I didn't sleep or anything like that.
Yeah.
Properly. Yeah. So
you were kind of adrenaline kind of pumping, and like you needed to do something, get stuff done, do the male thing and do things.
So then by that night, I was like ready to crash, and I was just wrapping myself around it. Every time, like every 3 minutes, she would go, and I'd get up and get her up, and we would go through the motions of contractions, and that happened.
When you say get her up, as in like stand up
and like have her braced over me, like we're hugging, but head to head, and moving the hips and doing all that stuff. That
where'd you learn to do that?
The labor course.
The labor course.
Yeah. And
did you recommend a labor course?
Oh, just as much. We did 3 different labor courses. Just they're all variations of the same.
Yeah. Okay.
That's just who you like, I think, because the information's pretty well similar.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So my partner didn't sleep much the night before. I didn't sleep much the night before. This night,
so you're both pretty exhausted.
Pretty exhausted, yeah. They say it's a marathon, and I tend to agree. But by the next morning, so this is Monday, we're pretty well wrecked. Every 5 minutes, we're waking up and going through the contractions together. I think I missed a couple. I died a little bit inside. And my partner didn't want me to wake up, and like for me, I'm like, oh, I should have like been awake and all that. In the moment, I was like, oh, you should wake me up, but now I'm like, don't wake me up until you're really doing it.
Number 2 is going to be a very different story.
Because seriously, like guys need to be there and like really able. Yeah. Not that I was unable to do what I had to do, but I was wrecked by the end of it.
Yeah.
So Monday, so this is a 3-day labor at this point. Not literally, but technically. I think it was like a 6-hour labor by the end.
Yeah.
That they called active labor. But
yeah.
Even
but
that,
labor isn't active. It's not.
But like we'd been up for 2 nights with contractions. So yeah, Monday morning, was going through the same thing again, trying to, speed it up. And they got to a point and we're like,
So how are you like trying to speed it up?
just you got to go with the
Like-
contractions. You got to feel the contractions and go with the contractions and breathe through it.
Yeah.
Like, and I was racing, so in between, I'm like in heat packs warmed up and stuff like that for a back. So they get, instead of doing like epidural or any pain relief that way, just applying heat, doing massage in between just to keep her, in a good frame of mind, breathing, listen to meditation stuff or prayer stuff, listen to music that calms you, that kind of stuff. There's like a lot of different methods to not use painkillers, and that's what we were doing and trying to maintain that for 3 days straight.
Yes.
Yeah. And then it got to a point and they said,
it's time for the C-section.
No, it's time to, one of the midwives, really nice lady, goes, would you prefer to be in a bath right now? Because we couldn't do a bath labor, like a
water birth.
Water birth, because there's breach, but we can do water labor.
Yeah.
Which is like taking away the pain and stuff like that.
Yeah, nice, relaxing bath.
Which was really good because her contractions actually went down to, like, I was timing it, but I withheld this information from her because, like, she was so tired.
Yeah.
I was so tired. And
is this a admission right now? Like,
no,
she does know.
I told her like the day after.
Yeah.
I said, like, she was like, "Oh, is the contractions staying the same?" I'm like, pretty well. They was down to from 3 minutes, 4 minutes to 7 minutes, 12 minutes some. But she was falling asleep in between the contractions at this point.
Yeah.
And getting rest.
That's good.
And
that's
then
what you want.
And then the doctor came in and said,
so you're in the bath?
Sorry, earlier we had another vaginal examination and they said by 8:30 you'll have your baby in your arms.
Yeah, right.
And so we're in the bath and stuff, and it got to about 7:30 and the doctor comes in, it's not progressing as well as it should be. Let's do another examination.
Yep.
And the lady checks and says it's 9 centimeters dilated.
Is that a lot?
Yeah, 10 centimeters
is go time.
Yeah. And previously it was 9 centimeters, and this time we had a new lady. Everything's a bit of a
blur. Trying to get through it now.
Yeah. So then she goes, "I want to do the examination."
Yeah.
And see how it's progressing.
So is this a doctor now?
Doctor.
Yep. Doctor wants to do the examination.
And she goes, "You're not going to like what I have to say."
Oh no. C-section.
No. She goes, right now your waters are pushing up against the cervix and opening it up. But it's not actually, as soon as that water breaks, it's going to go back in. So it's pushed up against it now.
Yeah.
But as soon as that bursts, there's no baby up against it. It's just going to close up again. So you had a 9 centimeter dilation, which is more like a 6 centimeter dilation.
Yeah.
And that's what we heard the day before. And we're like, we're going to go through this another day and a half.
Oh, no. So, like, that sounds pretty defeating,
Yeah.
I guess, a bit. So how did you get through that?
Well, this is where I was saying, knowing everything we knew at that point, and we're able to make the decisions that were really easy decisions to make because we knew the information.
Yes.
After that point, it was really easy. We didn't have to think about it, stress about it, or anything like that. It got to this point and they go, well, there's 2 options. Cesarean.
Yep.
Yeah.
The no-no cesarean.
Or we break your waters. And at that point, that wasn't an option.
So if they broke the waters, wouldn't it then that contraction, like, it would close?
So yes, they go,
We need to make sure the baby's in a better position, or
but you got 2 hours after the waters break for there to be
to go time.
no,
No?
anything to be improved.
Okay.
And we're like, my partner was in pain at this point and
Yeah.
defeated with all this stuff,
Yeah.
all this information coming through. And she goes, "This is something that you're going to have to make the decision on your own." And
Yeah.
I'm like,
And when she said that, how did that make you feel?
I felt like
Were you overwhelmed, or
this is my role, I
Yeah.
guess. But it was
overwhelming?
not overwhelming. It was like a huge weight, huge weight.
Yeah.
Because this is the option, the easy option of cesarean, like as in it's all controlled and
Yeah, you can get
we
it
no
over and
longer
done
have
with.
to worry if she gets the epidural or she'll get paralyzed and be relaxed and not feel the pain
Yeah.
and everything's taken care of. We don't have to worry about it. The second option is you have to go through everything we've went through so far again
A whole nother day.
and not sleep, and we don't know how long it's going to take.
Yeah.
That was the issue.
That's what you chose.
Yeah, I don't like my wife, clearly. No, but with what we had discussed, and I felt like that was
What did she do to wrong you?
the yelping when I made the decision. I was like, did I make the wrong decision? Straight away, I was like, this was like too much.
Yelping.
Like
She's like,
like
really
wailing,
going through this again. Yeah.
Like when I made the decision, she's like, but it was her in despair going, I couldn't do this all by myself. We've actually had to have the intervention where they break the waters and all this. But at the time, I was just like, I've made the wrong decision. She hates this decision.
That must have been heavy.
Yeah,
that must have been another burden to carry.
But then I was clarifying before the waters got broke. I go, when you say any improvement, was that like 1 centimeter more dilation, and like what's the go?
Yeah.
She goes, yeah, just any sort
of improvement.
And I think you have 6 to 8 hours before, like once the waters are broken, before there's like a high chance of infection on the baby. So there's still time, but it is a window.
Yeah.
It's not finite.
Yep.
The baby's got to come out somehow.
Baby's got to come out.
Yeah. And at that point, we're like, okay, things have changed. These are the plans. It hasn't gone to plan. We've tried to stay as close as we can and make the decisions as they come, but this sort of throws a lot of that out the window. And then once she broke the waters, the pain was like intense. Cherry, my partner said it's completely different, like a whole nother level. It was like she thought she was feeling pain, but she wasn't before.
Yeah.
This was pain.
Yeah, okay.
And what she was saying, it felt like her hips bones were getting pushed out, and they actually were.
Yeah. Because the baby's coming.
Yeah. Well, we didn't know 100% at the time what was happening, but thank God it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was from memory.
Something you just can't imagine is those. As a man, like it's hard to imagine like that.
Like a transformer.
What that would feel like as well. Like that's women. You're amazing again.
So at 8:30, we had the procedure, I guess you would call it, where she broke the waters.
Yeah.
One of the potential risks of breaking waters, just so anyone, like this is a conversation you have with your doctor.
Yeah.
But is the umbilical cord can come out first, and then cesarean.
Mm-hmm.
Done straight away. Cesarean.
There's no other way.
You can cut the air supply to your baby.
To the baby, and they brain damage and
brain damage
like
or death.
Yeah.
Not good. So she kept her finger up there, preventing anything from coming out that shouldn't.
Right.
And all this, like watching your partner go through this, man, you don't want to ever hurt your partner because they go through enough pain.
Yeah.
Discomfort. And so this happened at 8:30, and then every contraction after that was 2 minutes apart, and they went for like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. So they were back to back to back. she would sit down and then have to pretty much get up straight away. And at this point, she couldn't support her own weight. So getting up, I had to lift her up.
Yeah.
And this is what I was saying before. I would not help her with the easy contractions.
Yeah.
Because you literally support the next, like he did massage therapy, and
Yep.
I ended up asking him to come over to do my back because my back was completely stuffed by the end of labor. Yeah, but it took a couple of days to really feel it, like, because you're going through adrenaline and all this other stuff. You're like, oh, I'm fine, and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm not good.
Yeah. Yeah, you won't feel the pain until after.
So 8:30, the waters break every 2 minutes. The contractions and
contractions, yeah.
And the midwife, huge support. At that point, I was just lifting up and trying to get her to breathe, like
because there's so much pain there.
So much pain, and then I'm like, we've got to talk about pain management because like you're not doing too good.
Yeah.
And then talk to the midwife, and she goes, to support this baby coming out and not having the C-section, you need to be standing.
Yeah.
Like gravity is going to help. And getting through the motions helps. Like you need to do that. So as far as pain management goes, no morphine because they'll make you sleepy and not.
Yep.
That won't help the labor proceed. Not that they restricted it from us, but this is.
Yes, their recommendations.
If you want the natural birth that you're asking for, this won't help.
Yeah.
And then epidural was really not an option because you need to be standing.
Yeah.
You'll be.
It paralyzes.
Yeah. And then gas, and I knew gas isn't a pain relief at all. It's a farce.
Yeah.
And it absolutely done nothing. But I go, oh, we'll take it just to, maybe a placebo effect where you're like, oh, I'm getting this painkiller that doesn't do anything, but it's doing something because I think it does something.
Yeah.
And it does not do anything.
Yeah. Continue.
Yeah. So we took the gas, and at some point, my partner goes, no, like get rid of it. It's doing nothing. I'm feeling everything. It's not helping at all.
The placebo effect did not have any effect.
Yeah, I just thought it would be because we were pretty tired, pretty defeated. Like
just anything to help.
Just to help mentally.
Yeah.
Not help physically.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I noticed this would have been 9:30, 10 o'clock, thereabouts. The midwife starts getting a mirror, lights, and
getting things ready.
Or just looking up at Duff to see. And at that point, I was like thinking something's happening here.
Yeah.
And I just was communicating like with eyes and mouthing because my partner, she was in the pain zone and wasn't really aware of everything around her, and was asking like, "Is it happening?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's happening."
Would you get a
comment?
A comment from Cherry. She said lots of from Cherry Blossoms, lots and up and downs. Some days were difficult to be positive. John's support was critical, and our shared faith in creation and God's love gave me confidence. That's a beautiful thing. Thank you, Cherry.
And we needed all the prayers. We had our church family.
Yeah, we were praying for you.
Praying, and I think we couldn't do it without it.
We couldn't stop thinking about you guys.
But yeah, and then all of a sudden, she runs over and presses the buttons. Now, previously, this is something, not a big thing, but to get the nurse to come in at some stage earlier on, I pressed the wrong button.
It's like, hey, it's go time. You're pressing the go time.
Yeah,
button.
I pressed the big red one, man.
Big red one.
That means it's time.
All hands on deck.
Yeah, all hands on deck.
They all come running through and go.
The nurse, the midwife came in and goes, "Oh, don't press that one. You need the one on the bed." Rah rah.
Yeah.
The yellow one that just says, "I might be a little bit uncomfortable."
Yeah.
Not everything's happening.
Not go.
But I saw which one she pressed, and it was the go time button.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was like, okay.
This is go time.
And then I told my
Game on.
partner, yeah, let's go. It's happening now. You've done it. This is the home stretch.
Mm.
We just need, a couple more minutes, which turned into a lot more than a couple. And then all of a sudden we had 7 or 8 people in the room, midwives, and that's standard practice for a breech to have the ICU unit, whatever. They check the baby straight away, make sure all the stuff's normal.
Yeah.
They have the respirator thing standing by because, from what I understand, is they don't have the compression in the lungs the same as they do head first, where they spit out the gunk and have the first breath because the head's the last to come out.
Yeah.
So, which is important to know. Guys out there, we got told so many times that your baby comes out flat, and I'm not a doctor.
Flat.
Yeah. But I couldn't imagine what that meant. And then
I can't. Yeah. I don't know what you mean.
Yeah. But anyway, so we got to a point where the bum was breaching.
Yep, bum's coming through.
Yep, which was good. And they say you got about 4 minutes.
Yep.
From the bum coming out to the head coming out is the normal range that is
because you want oxygen to be the head to come out so they can actually start getting oxygen to the baby.
Yeah.
Because during that time the umbilical cord
gets squished. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's the baby's not getting oxygen to the brain, which is not good. And at that point, my partner's head up against the bed, bum facing out to the doctors.
Yeah.
And because this is the best position for breach.
Yep.
And they've dismantled the bed. Apparently they're transformers as well. They've come apart and
pretty cool bed.
Yeah. And she couldn't support her own weight, so there's doctors pushing her up the bed, and the main doctor, controlling the baby coming out and just telling her, when to push, and I'm just telling her how to breathe. Like at that point, it's very streamlined.
So where were you in that situation?
I was up
at her head.
Yeah, at her head, and every now and then I'd take a peek and see where they're up to. I saw the bum out, I saw the legs out, and I saw that the head, which is going to happen soon, it got stuck.
Yep.
And we didn't want episiotomies because
a what?
Episiotomy.
Episiotomy, and what's that?
Where they cut with a scalpel.
Oh, the opening so it can be wider. Because
tearing, if you tear naturally, it heals a lot better.
Yeah.
Like if you can imagine, like that doesn't heal as well as that does.
Yes.
So that's that's probably the easiest way to explain it, I guess. But the head got stuck, and it ended up being 7 minutes instead of the 4 minutes that was recommended.
Yeah.
From the bum coming out to the head coming out. With us knowing that the head was stuck for a number of minutes.
Yeah.
And our baby girl, which was ruined earlier, but we'll continue.
Sorry, guys. That's my bad.
She came out purple as...
so no oxygen in the body kind of thing.
I don't know. That could be normal.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. And when they said flat, she was not moving. And she came out. I saw it pop out, and it was just like limp as.
Yeah.
And I thought she was gone for money. Like I thought we'd made all the wrong decisions,
And so that moment,
despair.
You were despairing. You weren't telling.
I didn't
tell Cherry though what you
didn't tell her, but I was ready to console her and be with her.
Yeah.
And then
that's pretty heavy.
Pretty heavy, and I'd learned a lot of the stuff that happened, and then in retrospect, I'm like, oh, obviously, but when you're fatigued and haven't slept, and
emotionally charged, and all this stuff that's going on, you've seen your limp baby there,
purple,
and you've gone to the worst case scenario.
Yeah, and with the decisions that we had to make,
the baby's not crying or anything like that.
No crying, but
crying.
Again, I knew that they don't come out the same as...
Yeah, because when they go out the normal way, everything gets pushed out and they take their first breaths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
No, it didn't happen. And so they put the thing on, and I heard the cry, but like I was in so much shock about, like I was ready to console my wife with a dead baby.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for her to be alive, like as in I wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Oh, John," like we had established that I was to cut the umbilical cord, but because it was such a long process, they just cut it, took her over to the inspection table thing, and pumped her with the oxygen and checked over her really quickly and dried her off and all that stuff. And they're like, "John, come over, get your baby." And I was like, stunned, in shock that she was alive and crying and all that. And then I had to wait until my wife prompted me and said, "No, go over and get the baby."
Go get the baby, you dumbass.
No, she was like, "Oh, like I'm fine now." Like,
yeah.
yeah, that kind of thing. She's not mean.
Not like me.
But yeah, like, and it took me telling that story like 5 or 6 times to not, like, I teared up that day, like that in that situation.
In that
I was
moment.
like ready that she's passed away. And
I was gonna ask you that, like that moment where you thought she was not there, you were tearing up.
yeah.
You were feeling all the emotion come over you. For those who don't know John, he's a very stoic man. And so
except for when I cry.
I don't think you've cried very often. But like through that moment, you were feeling it all.
Well, I
You were feeling
also had it repressed, like I had to make decisions, so you can't just dwell on all the negatives, and you sort of, and then at that point where you go, I made the wrong decisions, and
and so
these are the consequences.
You're fully wearing that as the husband there who's made those decisions, who's put his foot forward.
And to be fair, me and my partner did talk about if things were catastrophic, as they say, that it would be worse for us to lose a child than lose each other together. Like, if we lose a child, it's terrible, but if we come out with no relationship, and like, it's going to be even worse. So we had them discussions and said that all the decisions we're making together, and we're supporting each other in it. And if we have any issues with the decisions, we have to communicate that with each other. So then it is like a combined, it's not your fault, my fault, that kind of thing. The blame game. It's we're in this together,
united.
And we want to, and I think that was really helpful. In that. But again, I was ready just to console my wife.
And then you heard, "Baby, you're still dumbstruck though."
I was like, I was processing it, but very slowly. Like really slowly. I was
working off like 1 minute sleep.
Yeah. And then after all that, healthy as baby. The healthiest baby you could ask for. I think it was 8 out of 10 for the whatever they do, like some sort of
rating.
Test. Yeah, rating. I can't think of the acronym again, but 8 out of 10 is good. And my wife's sister, her first child was 3 and still alive, but very stressful, that one. 8 really high. We didn't want the synthetic oxytocin for the placenta, but we took it at that time because we'd been through so much. So there's a few things that we changed, but we're happy that we had the map that we're going in with, and made the decisions we did.
And so how soon after you being able to go over to your baby, were you able to hold the baby pretty much straight away?
Straight away.
And how soon after were you able to?
Straight away. I took her over to my wife. So you get oxytocin, like she would get oxytocin from holding the baby. So there's the natural oxytocin, then they hit her with a synthetic, and then placenta straight out. So that was...
For those who don't know, oxytocin is the love hormone. And so it helps with bonding with the child.
Like, you're going to experience this. This is like the craziest thing ever. Like my partner was like, "Oh, there's too much pain. I can't do this," and oh, like I just want it to be over, and I want to sleep, and all this stuff. And then they have the baby, and like they're jumping out of the bed, like this.
It's just, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, like this superwoman type stuff. Like, but instead of making these gay movies about these superhero girls, just have women that have just given birth.
I think that's something that's not
celebrated
in our society is women going through birth and how
the strength
that they need to get through it. And
I reckon she could have lifted a car literally.
I'm pretty sure back in the days of in Sparta, they would actually a woman's, like you for a man die in battle, he would get his name put on a tombstone.
Yeah.
The only way for a woman to get her name put on a tombstone was to die during childbirth. Because they saw it as such a big thing in their society. Honorable thing.
Yeah.
And so that like I think women deserve so much when it comes to the amazing thing they do when they bring a life into the world. And we're really supportive of our women, and we want to celebrate that more, especially because you women are amazing and strong.
Yeah. So after labor though, she's full of all this energy, and I'm just like,
you're done.
I'm done. But the midwife goes, "Oh, do you want to see a placenta tour?" She explained what the placenta done, and I don't like any of this stuff. There's heaps of blood with pregnancy with the labor, and that did not faze me one bit because you're so focused on what's going on. Yeah. Yeah, and she did the placenta tour, and usually I'm just like, oh, that's disgusting or whatever. But I think it was like the perfect thing to take your mind off what just happened.
Yeah.
And then after that, I just had a shower and went to bed, like fell asleep.
You just went straight to sleep. How long did you sleep for?
Oh.
So this was at night. This was like
10:30.
10:30 at night.
10:32. So it was exactly 2 hours and 2 minutes after we had the waters broken.
Yeah.
So they said 2 hours for something to happen, and 2 hours and 2 minutes later, she was.
There you go.
She was here. Yeah, I think that was like the perfect thing just to take your mind off everything that had happened. It's really weird. It's just like completely, like you're thinking like here, and then it's just like way up, way out there, and takes your mind completely away of what just happened. But again, we had to talk to like you, Adam, all these different people, and say what had happened to process it.
Because we're all waiting bated breath. We're just like praying. We're like praying that this is all going well for you, that nothing's going wrong, and we're really waiting for that. I mean, I'm pretty sure the work group chat was blowing up. Like, oh, has anyone heard anything? And whatnot, because we're all. We were all worried about you guys, and we wanted to see you guys succeed and have your little baby as well.
Yeah, no, as considering all the things that came up, I think we had the right people, we had the right, like friends, the prayer, all this stuff all around us that made it happen successful. And we've been trying to give back to people that are been through the process with us. With the next day though, we had to do. They let me stay the night, which was good. We stayed in the suite because it was really late, and I wasn't driving home. The midwife goes, "Oh, where are you staying tonight?" And I'm like, "I'm driving home." I'm like, "You're not driving home." Yeah,
you ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, and then I end up literally crashing, and the next day, I sent a message to. I'd planned with both my mother and my partner's mother. I will give the details to them, and they can send it out to the family and what have you. Yeah. And I did one separate for friends, but yeah, so that was all taken care of prior, which I'd recommend, because there's nothing like you want to be spending time with your wife and your baby. You don't want to be on your phone. I just turn it on silent.
Yeah, that's
after
right.
that. But the next day we went through checks on the baby and all this stuff. All healthy. Because she's breached her legs, there's a higher chance of hip dysplasia. Yeah. But no indication of that. Still no indication, thank God. Not that it can't be remedied.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things you can do. Yeah.
But it's just helpful that it's not another
not another thing you have to worry about.
And then we asked the midwife that was in charge of so you get put in a room with 4 other women that have their babies.
Yeah.
And you say 24 hours. And we're like, can we not wait until like 10:30 to sign? Like, what's the difference between 8 o'clock and 10:30? Like nothing.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, you need to say, and I'm like, we've been here for 3 days,
Yeah.
like 3 nights. This is.
Can we go?
Yeah, let's go home, please. And she did everything in her power to get us out as soon as possible, get all the checks, and we're very thankful, and we really appreciate all the staff at John Hunter.
Yeah, good work, John Hunter.
Yeah,
shout out to John Hunter and the staff that are working there. You've done a good job.
And with the doctors, when it came to time for them to get involved, they were great. Like it's just the system is,
is there to protect and help.
Yeah, or to they want to mitigate as much
risk as
possible, and I think it sort of takes away from the individual choice of patients. And if you're not well informed, as I said, we asked when we're at Gosford. Oh, Gosford, I'm shouting that out now. What their cesarean rates are, and that was 35%.
Yeah.
Of all pregnancies.
Yeah.
I didn't ask what there's
on the breach. Yeah.
Is on the breach, but pretty much they don't really do breach.
Yeah.
Unless it's on the day and undiagnosed.
Yeah.
But then when we got to John Hunter, theirs was 37%.
Yeah. Okay.
Rate. So that's quite high.
Yeah.
And then it's 98% for breach.
Is cesarean. And only 2% is natural birth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how we get our 2% of 2% down to 0.04.
Yeah. So that's just insane. I just don't understand how the numbers are that high unless people aren't informed. Because your body's designed to do things, and it's an abnormality for it not to be able to do that. So it should be a rare thing.
That's it.
But it's not. And there's I've heard stories of obstetricians that have a 90% cesarean rate.
Wow.
Because it's controlled. And I get it. Like you
want to schedule it. You want to be in control of the whole situation.
Yeah. You don't want to
as humans, we like to be in control of things. So that's an amazing story, John. Of going through the roller coaster, which was you and Cherry's pregnancy, and you've come out the other side with a beautiful bouncing baby girl.
Yeah.
And
I'm getting my gun soon. Don't worry.
And it's awesome to see where you found the hope during that, like having that connection between you and your wife. Having those discussions beforehand seemed to be really critical. And as your wife had said, that your support for her was critical. And thank you for sharing.
That's all right.
And anyone out there, if you've got a story like that, we'd love to hear it. And we would love to bring as much hope. Like, even though it seemed like at one point it was just cesarean, or it was like even John in that moment where it was like, I've made the wrong decision. He's come out the other side. All 3 of them have come out the other side, and like there is hope. There's always going to be hope, and let's keep preaching that message to everyone around the world. we want to honor our women as well, and yeah, let's keep this story of hope going, and we'll find a story for next week as well. Anything you want to say, John, to finish us up?
With my story, it's not everyone's story, and
That's right.
Do your own research, and it's what you're comfortable with labor. It's not just what the doctor says or what the podcast says. It's what you and your partner are comfortable with. So cesarean might be fine for some people, and that might take away all the fear and all that stuff. And I don't think you should be doing anything out of fear.
I think it was for you. It was critical that you had that natural birth because you have plans.
Yeah.
So
in that, like, take what you can out of this story and leave what you don't want to hear out of it.
Definitely. Yeah.
And thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening. It's been awesome. Again, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share the show with your friends, and we'll see you next week.
Gotcha.